What's going on, everyone? My name's Dana Blue, and this is the Asian MMA podcast where we talk about anything and everything going on in the world of Asian MMA. Tonight, we're just talking about a real quick recap of One Championships A New Tomorrow, which just ended. It was here in Bangkok, Thailand. I was watching it on their YouTube channel. And what a great card from start to finish. I want to go over some of the MMA bouts because they were really just phenomenal. And some of the stuff that went on, this was also a new pacing for One Championship. They talked about this leading up to it, that they want to have a quicker pacing, which honestly, that's probably the one thing I didn't think One Championship needed was faster pacing for their events. That's one of the things that they get really well. Their production is spot on. If you've ever seen a One Championship event, as far as production goes, all of that is really good. And so the pacing has always been good. This was a little bit quicker. It did feel a lot faster. I would say the only time a One Championship event felt like it didn't have good pacing to me probably would have been One Century. But that was also like 15 hours of MMA or something ridiculous. So, for the most part, I really can't complain, and I thought it was a fantastic card. So let's get into some of the things. We had some funny stuff happen right off the bat. Let me pull up my notes here because I want to make sure I get this. I missed the first fight. I was out getting dinner, and so the second fight was the first one I came back to, and we had Majai Wen versus Zolstasteg from Mongolia, and right off the bat, a lot of action. They were pressing it. Zoltsteg gets a KO, and this was kind of funny. This is probably the funniest moment in the evening. I saw the referee going for a stoppage, and I felt like it was maybe a little bit early, or more than a little bit early. And then you quickly realize that Ma is completely out because he starts to try to leg lock the referee. So, I mean, great stoppage, but it was kind of funny because he was really fighting for that leg lock and the camera didn't pan away so quick. So you got to see the referee sort of fighting off this leg lock as he's stopping the fight. Great KO win, first round for Zolsteg. Fantastic Mongolian fighter, looked phenomenal. Then we had Joey Joey Perotti, the mama's boy, versus Mangadalev. I always get his name wrong, but my God, did he look like an absolute beast? He came out of nowhere just with knees, elbows right off the bat, just smashing Joey and just put him away in the first round. Fantastic finish. He ended up getting a choke, but I mean, had it gone any longer, he probably would have got the KO. You know, Next up on the card was a Muay Thai fight. We had Liam Harrison versus Mohammed bin Mahomed, and Liam Harrison is just an absolute beast. What a monster this guy is, and it was beautifully violent. It was what you expect from a Muay Thai fight. It looked fantastic, but my fight of the night for me anyway, going into this, other than as far as my MMA fight of the night, we had Takahashi versus Tan Lee, and this was this was by far my fight of the night, at least my finish of the night. Lee's an American, comes out, he's fighting Takahashi, very tough fighter, but Lee just runs him down in the first round so quick and just putting the pressure on. As soon as Lee saw that Takahashi was hurt, that pressure just pushed and he just put him out. He just straight put him to sleep. Ref jumps in to stop it. What a beautiful finish. And then he didn't call for a title shot, but essentially at the end of the fight, when Mitch Chilson asked him, what do you do now? What's next? He goes, I just keep doing what I'm doing. I beat the next one and the next one and the next one until they give me that title shot, and then I win that. And honestly, if his next fight was a title shot, I would be very happy with that. By far, that was an amazing finish. For me, that's the fight of the night. Tom Lee, fight of the night, finish of the night. That was just beautiful. And the way he jumped on it, that killer instinct to just go in and get it done was fantastic. The next fight is Stamp Fairtex versus Puja Tomar. And I mean, it's kind of funny. It's not. I mean, Stamp's obviously a high level kickboxing Muay Thai fighter, hands down. And this was her fourth MMA fight. So and you could see that she's still very green, but she's improved a lot. So you have to balance those two things. And the funny thing was, Puja was fighting out of a CrossFit gym. So she's fighting a girl who's a two-sport champion, a two-combat sport champion from Fairtex, one of the most storied Muay Thai gyms in the world. They have a great MMA program as well. She's fighting Stamp Fairtex, and she's fighting out of a CrossFit gym from India, and that showed. At one point, she actually got a takedown on Stamp, and Stamp just gave zero fucks about that takedown, pushed her head out of the way and stood up and just shrugged it off completely. And then she was threatening with the second best leg lock of the night. She had a potential heel hook on Stamp. Stamp was able to get out of it. Before that fight, they played a promo of Stamp talking about she wanted to eventually go on to fight Mei Yamaguchi and then Angela Lee. Two people who she would not do very well against with her current skill set on the ground. One takedown, and essentially they would just dominate her, Mei Yamaguchi and Angela Lee. Now, I think this was a good fight for Stamp because she still doesn't have a ton of MMA experience. Yeah, she has like 60 plus Muay Thai fights, kickboxing fights, and she's a champion in those two sports, but her ground game is very rudimentary at this point. It's improved from her first fight by far, and I think this was a good win from her because this was definitely a low-level opponent. It's going to give her confidence in MMA, and if one treats this right, if one grooms her properly, in another year or two, she could be challenging people up at that top level, a Mei Yamaguchi, an Angela Lee. But hopefully we don't see that her next MMA fight is against a Mei Yamaguchi, because that's just not a good stepping stone for her at this point. She went on to get a ground and pound finish. It was kind of funny. If you were on Twitter following everything, Puja kept putting her head up, giving her neck, and Stamp just wanted nothing to do with that submission game. And she's got her back, she's pounding her out, and she switches over to elbows to finally get the stoppage. Arguably maybe a bit late considering the absolute zero defense, zero offense that Puja was putting up. But I think when Stamp finally turned it on with the elbows, got the stoppage, I'm not too mad about that. Good finish for her, good win. Again, her next opponent should be someone who's a little bit better than Puja, but not a Mei Yamaguchi, not an Angela Lee. She doesn't need to be at that top tier, not yet. Let her be a murderer. Let her murk people in kickboxing and Muay Thai. Let her make that work there, and let her grow in MMA, because MMA wise, she looked fantastic, and I'm excited to see her grow in that space. Give her another year, another 2 years to develop, to mature. I would be super happy with that. If you really push her too quick, you could ruin a very good thing. And I think Stamp definitely has the the wherewithal to be a star especially in Asian MMA, and she's clearly been working on her English. I'll link over to my buddy John's channel, Kumite TV. He did, I think, as far as I know, the only English language interview with her ever. Decent interview. She's clearly learning, she's improving, and her camp is helping her with that. So they're in a good position with that. Now with Stamp and Pucha out of the way, we get on to the main event. Rodtang versus Jonathan Haggerty. And I'm not I prefer to see MMA main events in one, but at the same time, you can't deny one Super Series has put on some of the best fights in the past year. The One Super Series fights have just been amazing. We're talking about Muay Thai and kickboxing with 4-ounce gloves. These are guys who just are going out there swinging for the fences and are super technical, and they're wearing these tiny gloves, and it changes the whole physics of the sport, and it makes it so exciting. And what we saw tonight with Haggerty and Rodtang was just that. Rodtang defending the belt he won from Haggerty in devastating fashion. I mean, he hurt Haggerty in the first round with a body shot, put him down. Haggerty gets up, makes the count, survives the round, still, coming forward on Rodtang, but he's getting hurt every time Rodtang touches him up. He ends up they get into the second round. Rodtang just keeps working that body. Haggerty's landing, but Rodtang's just doing work, and he's putting the damage in, and he ends up getting 3 knockdowns in the second and stops Haggerty. But man, Haggerty has so much heart for days. He got up every time he got knocked down. He got up and came forward. Rodtang is just such a monster, such a monster. Amazing win and great fight. I really thought this fight was going to go the distance. Rodtang got the finish. Absolutely phenomenal. 3 knockdowns, and just, showed that he is the best Muay Thai fighter right now. I mean, he's just so skilled, so talented. And there was one point where Haggerty had Rodtang's leg, went to kick, and Rodtang actually jumped over the kick and just looked. It was like out of the Matrix. It blew my mind. My one downside for this event, my one downside for A New Tomorrow, is that one went back to the ring versus the cage, and they switch it up. I am personally not a fan of holding MMA fights in a ring. And I understand, like, sort of technically it looks better for Muay Thai or kickboxing. Fans better understand that. I just think the cage is safer. And I think it adds elements for MMA that make it a more interesting sport versus when you have a ring. Now, there was nothing technical with the ring tonight that caused issues like we've seen before with one events in rings, luckily. But at the same time, I just think it's not the right medium for the sport. And I don't mind to watch Muay Thai and kickboxing in the ring. I actually like one's round ring. And I think it fits well to all different combat sports. So I'd like to see more of cage. Sorry, I like one's round cage. I'd like to see more events, kickboxing and Muay Thai in the cage, as well as all their MMA events in a cage. Now, obviously, logistically, you really can't have both at a location and kind of switch back and forth like they do. I'd love to see them just settle on cage and just go straight cage. That would be, for me, the ideal situation. But, I understand that that's not always possible. Anyway, amazing event. Amazing event for one championship. Rodtang is the main event. Fantastic. Tan Le, fight of the night for sure. And Stamp continues to look good, continues to improve. Hopefully, she gets a little bit of time to grow. Liam Harris, absolute monster. Oh, good fights, man. Just good fights all around. And then Majai Wen putting the heel hook or the leg lock on Olivier Coste. Luckily, he wasn't hurt by the leg lock. And obviously that just showed that it was a perfect stoppage because Wen was out. Majai Wen was out. So it was a good stoppage, but luckily no injury. And it's actually funny when you watch him raising the hand at the end. The ref, Oliver, actually was laughing about it because I think the leg lock went so long. So anyway, great event, fantastic event. Looking forward to the next one. And actually, I know I didn't cover end of the year Risen show. I was tied up with some other stuff, but man, after that show, I'm looking forward to what Risen has the rest of this year. I'm gonna try to do more live streams like this after events, and I'm gonna try to be more consistent with the Asian MMA podcast going forward. So hopefully, you guys get more content throughout this year. My goal is to try to average about 2 a week plus live streams plus mixing some other stuff. If you guys catch this, let me know what you want to see. Let me know what you want me to cover in Asian MMA. And hopefully you guys saw the team up I did with Ant Walker, the team up I did with John Coe from Kumite TV. I am hoping to do more of those this year as well, because there are just a lot of people in the industry who I talk to, and they just have so much more knowledge than me. They add so much more depth and insight when we work together. So hopefully I can bring a lot more of that to this channel for you guys. Anyway, it's 11 p.m. here in Bangkok. I am going to go to bed. Have a great Friday for those of you in the US. Have a great weekend for those of you here in Asia. I'll talk to you next week.